Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tippy Talk. Today, we are introducing a show that we actually recorded on December 17th, but I believe it was like the second recording I ever did live stream, and somehow the introduction got cut off. So, we're going to be playing for you the entire interview, which is fantastic. We have covered so many things on that. When I went through it, so many topics that I didn't even realize that we covered so much. We covered the book, we covered the water entanglement, we covered the book that you're going to see in a minute, and we covered the masks, we covered the COVID. I think we went through so many subjects that you're going to enjoy no matter what you're interested in. So I'd like to introduce myself and my channel. My name is Tippy. I'm here with Tippy Talk. And basically, I created this channel totally to give people a voice to enlighten, to inform, and to entertain. So I'm going to and let you tell people a little bit about yourself before they start listening to what we did on December 17th.
Thank you, Tippy. Thank you for the invitation. And I am the author of 3 books so far. The Dance of Our Souls, which was the first one, 2017, then Water Entanglement in 2018, and the sequel, Crystal Cloud, in 2020. Also, I published short stories in various anthologies in 2020 and previous years. I'm the host of the Spiritual Inspire podcast and the co-host of Age of Water podcast, where we talk about water, environment, and what's going on with climate change. Um, uh, just to tell your viewers more about myself, I immigrated to Canada in 1997. And since then, I've been involved in various businesses such as art and web design, financial investments, real estate investments, and renewable energies, especially solar. So overall, for me, 2020 was a good year. Yes, less participation at book fairs and participation in person at various conventions. But other than that, I had a steady pace on my creativity, on my writing. I'm very proud of the Spiritual Inspire show, which started in April, and I've already done 40 interviews with like-minded people.
Why don't you tell us about the book that you are now just released so that people can actually take a look at it? Because I believe it's a great book and great entertainment. And instead of watching Netflix, reading a great book is such a great alternative.
Yes, thank you. I mean, Crystal Cloud is the sequel to Water Entanglement. I take the concept of structured water and crystals to the next level. In Water Entanglement, I mentioned about the crystal implant on our cornea, and with water, structured water filtered through that crystal, which is connected to our pineal gland through nanobots. The water will decode its message, its experience of accumulated information from our environment over the millennia, and it will take ourselves to a different level of consciousness. So I talk about a society which is pretty much under the same duress as we are nowadays. Even if the plot takes place in 2055, I have to admit that I couldn't believe that this type of uh, constraint will come to us so soon in 2020, 2021. So I think people will enjoy the discussion about the environment, the discussion about the social and ethical implications of this type of implants. I brought in the church, I brought in the scientific community. So I think there is everything or something for everyone interested in eco-fiction, science fiction, to enjoy. For those who don't like to read a book, there is the audio version on audible.com or acx.com. And as a kicker, they have to know that this book, along with the other two, have been translated into the Romanian language.
So now you can sit back and enjoy and understand that we're going to be jumping right into the discussion. And anything else that you want to say before I let people sit back, relax, and enjoy the interview that we did?
Stay strong, stay positive, love yourself, and go inwards, because that's the only way you're going to find peace and be able to um, sail through these uh, trying times. Thank you.
Enjoy the show, and please leave feedback if you enjoyed it. And if not, also leave feedback, but please subscribe, and we will see you on the other side. For people who are writers, I think one of the hardest things is to figure out, because I know a lot of people who say I'm writing a book and 20 years later, they're still writing a book. So they're not really writing a book. How do you discipline yourself to do it on a daily basis? Do you personally write 7 days a week, or just on days that you work? Do you take a day off? What kind of um, advice would you give people that want to write, but somehow don't seem to be able to disconnect everything and sit down and write?
I mean, for those who are not able to write and they postpone the process, they really have to have a schedule and stick to it. I'm a little bit of an unusual person, because I can, if I have an idea, I can just write that paragraph or a page or half a page, even at 11 p.m. and before I go to bed. Or even if I start dreaming and I have a dream about the book, I can, force myself out, go write that page or half a page, and
Yeah.
then go back to sleep. And then later on, I can take all these small paragraphs and put them into, tie them into the bigger fabric of the novel. And even words, if I hear a special word, I will write it down, and I know how to embed it later on into a sentence. So for someone who's not able to, find the daily time, they have to force themselves, in fact, to sit down, even if they stare at the page for half an hour and not writing anything. But doing that on every single day, they will create this habit, and it will be much easier later on. I mean, if my wife tells me, if I write in let's say in the living room, and my wife tells me, can you set up the table for dinner? I will drop everything. I'll go set up the table. It's easier. It's like a 3 minutes job, and then come back and write. So not always, if I break my flow to do something else, the words and the ideas are still there. I can go back to them anytime or a little bit later and put them on paper. But I have to really write them down at that particular moment. Otherwise, if I spend like 2 hours away, I might forget that line or that thread which can enrich the story.
Do you write your notes on a special notebook, or do you write it on toilet paper and napkins?
Usually I have my special notebook. I don't write directly on the computer. But if I don't have anything else handy, I can use any piece of paper. I mean, 2 years ago, when I was still writing Water Entanglement, I was at the mall with my wife. I think she went into Victoria's Secret, and something came up into my mind, and they had a flyer, Victoria's Secret flyer. So I just started upside down. They had the back
Right.
was white, and I started writing. And she came to, what are you doing? I'm writing. So I kept writing. I used flyers, Victoria's Secret flyers to my idea. So doesn't matter where I am. I always have a small notepad with me and pen. Um, so I don't miss on anything.
So I would say you really are a true author. I mean, that's what drives you. That's what you occupy your mind with, your writings, which is beautiful, because a lot of people call themselves authors, but they don't really hardly ever write. And that's really a tough situation. So you do write 7 days a week, or do you have a day off that you take specifically?
I don't write 7 days a week. I wish I will, but sometimes, again, I'm tired, or my mind is not there, or something else comes up. And I don't. I mean, I am very involved in my meditation practice, so that in a way comes first. So at night or in the morning, that comes first, and then is the writing part.
You do put it on your calendar. You actually schedule it. And like you said, when you were working, you were doing it at lunchtime, and maybe at home you say, okay, I'm going to take a break at 3 o'clock, and from 3 to 4, I'm going to write. Do you specifically plan ahead, or you just sit down and write whatever part of the day you can find?
I sit down and write whatever comes to me, and whenever I have the time, I just sit down and write. And I found out recently that I usually don't like to write under pressure, and I was surprised that it wasn't pressure, but it was kind of internal pressure. And I wrote the stories like in 2 days for both anthologies for last year and this year, and it was an interesting feeling to see that I can write for a purpose, for a specific anthology or a specific magazine. And I feel that I'm not able to do that because, again, I don't like to write under pressure.
I just recently found out that one of the biggest, the biggest mystery in the entire planet is us, the human being, because we're made up of 70% water or 80% water. And we have these amazing things that we can do, and nobody can figure out how. I mean, AI is has some fantastic capabilities. It's a machine, but you can't, and you can figure out how, but with the brain and with the body, you can't. And that's why I'm fascinated with the water entanglement, even though it is a fictional story and you have characters and everything, but the water is really the conductor, and the things that water can do. Just water itself is amazing, and we're made out of so much water. So what is it about water that most people don't know?
They don't know that everything around us is energy and water, pretty much. And the humidity in the air is water. Water courses through our veins, as you said, courses underground, above ground. And I spoke with various shamans and energy healers, which I interviewed on my show, Spiritually Inspired. And they all told me that water is so ancient that it retained the memory of everything that happened on Earth and in the universe, in fact. And in Water Entanglement and in Crystal Cloud, I talk about unlocking water's memory and figuring out a language which we can communicate, to use in order to communicate with water and make us more understandable, and see how we can communicate in a way that we don't upset water anymore. And people have to understand that
So we don't accept water anymore?
No, we understand water in a much better way.
Right.
And at the same time, we tap into her knowledge, her ancient knowledge about ourselves and about the earth.
Right.
So people have to understand that there are still properties of water which we cannot explain. There are 70 anomalous properties which they are there. We can test them. We can see that they are manifesting, but we don't know why. We don't understand what forces are behind these manifestations. And it's very important to treat water with reverence. Every time I talk to a shaman or energy healer, they tell me, we pray over water before we drink it. We use water reverentially in our ceremonies. So we really have to understand how to treat water. What we drink from the faucet is dead water. It goes through so much purification process and so much piping that when we get it, it's dead water. It doesn't bring any benefit to our bodies. But if we take that water, put it into a big jar, and either pray over it or put a piece of paper with words like love or gratitude or empathy, that the molecular structure of water will change. And when we drink it, it will benefit us.
You said that the water is not really even water when we get it. Are you talking about water being pure H2O with nothing else in it?
Water with a very messy molecular structure with no other minerals in it. Is just deprived at any benefits. It's just a liquid, nothing else. It's just a liquid which has to be enriched either through minerals from reverse osmosis equipment or through this process which I mentioned. There are people who put silver inside the water jar or certain crystals, so they enrich the qualities of water. Water has to regain its molecular structure into a hexagonal shape in order to be beneficial to our bodies.
So it doesn't matter if it's filtered water or straight out of the sink, it still does not have the original molecular structure.
Yes, correct.
So if I go through reverse osmosis or 3 different filters to clean out all the garbage that might have been in the pipes, it's still not enough. You're saying we have to, a form of praying or fixing the water is blessing it, putting the positive energy around it, even if it's just in the form of a paper that says love on it.
That would be
Or
beneficial, yes.
so after you purify it, after you do reverse osmosis and even distilled water or any water that you get, that in itself needs to go through that process to be able to really use the full potential of what water can do.
Yeah, it's recommended to do that as a final step.
I love that. I love that from you.
And going back to your comparison with artificial intelligence, so we can create our own reality. Our brain and our energy can do that through various processes. But artificial intelligence will just mine data and will predict certain things, but cannot create what we create. So that's why we are such an interesting, let's say, animal or biological form in this environment on Earth.
So AI is dead data. It's basically you put that information in, it'll calculate information, like 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. Whereas with us, we can create out of 1 + 1, we can create a beautiful reality or nightmare reality with our brain. But honestly, I don't think anybody really knows the potential, the full potential of what we as human beings with our intelligence, which is our part of God, can actually do. I don't think anybody ever really knows. I mean,
yes, I think those who are enlightened knew about our potential. There are good teachings which, survive over centuries, but we have to know how to interpret them. Some of them, people may think that there are stories. Some of them might be stories, but some of them are things that we can achieve today if we train ourselves, if we train our mind, if we train our body, if we get rid of mental habits which pulls us down instead of pushing us forward. So we have to work on ourselves, and we are not willing to do that. That's the problem. And the more people I talk to, they all tell me that only an increased level of consciousness and awareness will be able to save us as a species and push us forward.
which is meditation, basically.
There is breath work. I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza is using breath work to open up your pineal gland and connect with the universe and the matrix.
So when I say meditation, and I think the definition, when I say meditation, I mean really being silent and listening rather than talking. Because a lot of times when I say meditation, people say, well, when I pray, I meditate. And when you pray, you're talking, but you're not listening. So when I say meditation, I'm talking about silently just listening to whatever comes to you, not talking, and kind of trying to silence your inner dialogue. Maybe not silence it, maybe lower the volume and listen. So breathing probably will help you listen better or silence better. Walking might help some people, laying down or even doing poses like yoga to allow yourself to release the stress and be able to be quiet. So a lot of people, when I say meditation, they actually talk about visualization or they talk about different things. So that's what I mean when I say meditation, quieting your mind and listening.
Yeah, I mean, there are different methods, and they work for each individual in a different way. So staying on this path of spiritual progress and spiritual evolution, I was quite pleased to get the message at the beginning of the year to start a show where from where people can learn how to step on their spiritual path. So I decided to start this video podcast called Spiritually Inspired. And I have a great guest that airs once a week on Sundays at 10 a.m. EST.
What do you think of this COVID-19? Where do you stand on that? what did you think at first when they first told us this deadly virus, and how did you react to it? And did that change, or are you still on the same, you still think it's the same thing?
Yeah, this is a delicate subject that I know I got a lot of flack on my
Yeah, that's
Facebook
why we're
page.
here. We can talk freely about anything. So don't
Yeah,
worry, you won't get any flack. There's no judgment in this
yeah.
channel.
There is a lot of polarization around this issue, and I stand along these lines that we have, as you said, we don't understand our potential, mind and body potential, at least, let alone the spiritual side. So if we have an amazing immune system, if we take care of ourselves through good food, through meditation, through positive thoughts and energy,
And
then
water.
yes, our immune system can cope up with a virus. You know, we had the flu, we had other viruses, SARS, H1N1, all those things. And every time there are casualties, people died, and it's normal. It's sad, but it's normal. And we have to look at what happened in the past and what's happening right now. And someone else checked the CDC numbers recently. And so it's government official data released on the internet, is not a third party. And the death rate for people between 0 and 65 years old were 0.01%, which was normal for any disease, for any, not a pandemic. A pandemic, it's huge, okay? So I think it's called wrongly a pandemic. It's not a pandemic. Pandemic has to be, I think, anywhere between 2 to 3% or higher on every age range, not
Mean
only on
2 to 3% death. Again.
death rate, yes. So then when we
Oh,
go above 65 years old,
by the way, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I'm not sure which health organization, I believe it's the World Health Organization, actually changed the criteria of a pandemic at about 2010, somewhere between 2010 and 2015, to be, instead of the death rate being that percentage, it's the, um,
the low rate, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So so that's why we're able to classify it as a pandemic, because it's not based on the death rate. It's based
yes.
on how many people are tested positive.
Yes. So as soon as you go beyond 65 years old, that percentage goes up 3 to 4%. And again, it's normal. And I give you an example right now. My parents both were at home. So my father, 86 years old, my mother, 75, both had the virus. And they survived, and they were tested positive. My father was tested positive, okay. And it wasn't easy for several days. Um, and they survived. They took care of each other. They eat properly. They eat healthy. They took whatever medication they were allowed to take, and they survived. If any of them would have gone to the hospital, they would be dead by now, because the hospital don't, I mean, kudos to those doctors and nurses, but they are not, I think, prepared. They are not given the right tools to take care of these patients. It's not their fault, but
Yeah,
I don't think
maybe.
they're
Maybe
given
it's
the
the tools,
tools.
maybe it's other things. But I've also noticed in New York, I don't know in Canada or anywhere else, the only people that I know that died were in hospitals. Nobody died at home. Nobody that didn't go to the hospital died, put it this way.
Again, there are cases of people dying of 45 or 57 or 25. These are part of that 0.01%. It's unfortunate. But again, you don't know the situation, you don't know about the immune system, you don't know
Yeah.
what their particular case was. So you cannot shut down the globe and have people dying from, collateral causes because of this. So it's a lot of politics behind, and
Well,
now
you're saying you cannot, but the fact is, it is being done. So, what do you think is happening? Why are they shutting down the globe on something that's not really uh, killing people all over the place?
you just have to go and read the World Economic Forum website. It's in plain sight that they want to do a big financial or global reset. whatever that means in terms of, financials and other type of aspects of our life. It's all there. I don't want to repeat them. Um,
Anybody's interested, they can go check it out for themselves.
of course, it's public information. All the big leaders and governments are listening to these guys. So it's not something like a think tank, a small think tank uh, hidden somewhere in Africa. No, it's in Switzerland. So you can go and check it out. And there are plenty of documents and videos on what they want to do. And if you look at the world leaders, they all repeat the same lines. They all repeat the same lines. It's like someone from above gave them the
Script.
written paper, the script. So you have to do this. And then if you go to the media, they say the same thing. And there are doctors. I listened to, in fact, I watched a 30 minutes video the other day where 45, if not 50 doctors from all over the world, and people with credentials, doctors with credentials, not quack doctors as other people call them. And they explain about the virus, they explain about the vaccine, they explain about the whole situation, and they took a big risk coming out publicly because their jobs are at risk. And I know doctors which were threatened by their associations, the association they're part of, the moment they publish on their blogs instructions on how to boost your immune system. So what's wrong with doing better and increasing your immune system? What's wrong with that?
Right.
They swear to protect us.
Right.
So this is what they are doing, but somehow they are not allowed
to do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting. So maybe people should meditate more. I think that's one of the things that's the easiest way to get yourself more objective to see what's going on, because the majority of people don't see it. And I'm thinking maybe it's because you're so involved emotionally into everything and you don't meditate, you can't see beyond what you're being told on the news, right? Could that be it?
Yes, I mean, reacting these days is something which we shouldn't do. Just hold back, think for 3-4 seconds before reacting. It's like your child, your kids are saying something bad to you, and instead of slapping them or admonishing them, just take 2-3 seconds and put yourself in their shoes and see why they did that. Is it fair for you to reply right away, or just walk away, clear your mind, see what is the best answer, and then come back and tell them you shouldn't have done that because of such and such and such reason? But even in public, you really have to, even someone offends you, don't react right away. Don't put yourself in a situation where you dig yourself deeper and you get into a fight or a very bad argument, or it's not worth it. Just walk away, clear your head, and as Tipi said, go home and meditate.
And you will regret it if you react right away and you react in anger. You always regret it after. It's like, oh God, why did I do that? You shouldn't do that. So I'm going to ask you one more real controversial question, which is, what do you think about wearing masks?
I will refer everyone to a video or interview of Dr. Fauci on 60 Minutes. I think he did this interview in March or April of this year. And he was asked this question: Dr. Fauci, should we wear masks? And he plainly said the masks have no use to protect one from a virus. They are useless. And the doctors wear them because during the surgeries, because they have impregnated with certain substances, and you don't want to breathe into the patient's wound and things like this. But you don't have to believe me. Go and watch this interview, search YouTube 60 Minutes with Dr. Fauci, where he said that masks are useless. Then 3 months later, he came and said, wear a mask because it's important. And so when did he lie? First time or second time? I think he was honest first time, but regardless, he should either resign or be fired because he spread misinformation, either first time or second time. So people like him again, if we put them on a pedestal and we listen to them because they are in that position and they have that label, then they have to be consistent, because the a mask's utility, or wearing a mask, won't change 2 months later or 3 months later. It's the same mask, the same material, the same
Data, the same, based on the same data.
exactly. So you have to make your own decision if these guys are telling the truth or they are lying. And I wear a mask when I go into a store, because otherwise I won't be able to get my groceries or anything like that. But in public or on the streets, I don't wear a mask. It's just, again, useless. So I see people walking in the forest wearing a mask. Why did you come to the forest if you wear a mask? You are there to inhale, fresh air and replenish your body. So it's up to them. I'm not judging. It's just I'm doing whatever is in conformity for me to get my necessities. But other than that, I'm not wearing a mask.
I don't know. I see people in New York driving in their car alone wearing a mask. Why do you think it's like really bizarre? I see, okay, I'm in New York. I just drove from New York all the way to California, which is across the entire nation. And I stopped in every town and everybody's wearing masks. And even in tiny little towns where you would think people like 500 people may live in that town, there's still a lot of people that wear masks, not as much as New York or Nebraska or Chicago or Colorado, not as much. Why do you think most people, well, honestly, almost all people, because I look in New York, I don't see anybody that's not wearing a mask. And I'm not talking about when you're forced to wear it. When you go into a store, they force you can't go in without it. But on the streets, they're not being forced to wear a mask. There are some countries right now that if you walk out of your house without a mask, you get a $5,000 fine already, which might be coming here. I don't know. But why do you think that most people that walk on the streets will wear a mask all the time?
It's fear, because the media put fear into all of us through every single program they have. And I can bet that even if tomorrow they will come and say, you know what, wearing a mask is not necessary, people will still wear a mask. It's in their brain now. That's the problem. We are easily manipulated. It's about being afraid and being brainwashed through these channels.
So what would these people have to do to kind of realize that they don't have to be afraid?
But they have to work on themselves. They have to read, to have positive thoughts, to read a positive book. They have to empower themselves. Otherwise, they will live their lives in fear, and they will add more to it every single year, because, as other people said, this is just the beginning. They will try to impose upon us more rules and regulations, even if they don't make any sense. So you'll be layer after layer of fear, up to a moment where you're afraid to come out of your house because, there is this virus or that virus or something else in the air which can affect you and make you sick while you stay in your home, and you are getting real sick because you don't have sun, you don't get fresh air, and that's dangerous.
Do you think people are going to end up wearing masks in their own home?
I'm sure that there are people who are doing that right now.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow. That blows my mind. I don't know. It's happening and I still cannot digest it. It's just every day I'm like, wow, this is the Twilight Zone. This is my real life? Or it just doesn't go into my brain yet.
Yes, it's sad, but it's something we have to go through, learn from it.
Yes.
Every single event in our life is a lesson, and we have to look at it with detachment and see why it was sent to us. And again, learn from it and move on.
That sounds like a good plan. Wait, about your name first. Is it Claudiu Murgan? Because it's spelled Murgan.
Yes, it's Murgan. And Murgan, in fact, is a common name in India. And I have a joke about that because it's the name of a god. And recently I've been asked, I think, at least 7, 8 times if I'm of Indian origin. I would say no. And then when I meet an Indian person, I said, yeah, I expect you to bow to me because, my name is the name of a god. So we have a good laugh about it.
So it's been really wonderful talking to you, and I love the water entanglement. I think the structure and the chemistry of water to me is one of the most fascinating things, because you're saying if I take a cup of water and I just put the word love on it, it will change the structure of the water. Imagine changing the structure of the water inside your body by the thoughts that you think. So if you walk around thinking, I hate myself, I'm so stupid, I I I just mess up everybody's life, then your water structure is going to change inside your body. It's going to change the quality of your life. It's going to change what happens to you. And just that knowledge in itself, without anything else, is such a life changer.
Correct. Yes.
Right?
Yes. And you also can play the crystal balls, buy a crystal ball and play it every day or several times a week if you can, and that will also enhance the vibration of your cells and your water inside your body. So that's another way to to stay healthy.
Tell me about the crystal. Is it a specific kind of crystal, or like what's the crystal ball?
No, I mean, there are people who are buying the quartz crystal or any type of, depending on what area you want to heal or enhance. So I'm playing that crystal ball every day, and sometimes I have to be careful because I'm afraid that my windows might crack. You know, the sound is so powerful.
Really? What do you mean you playing it? Like what do you do with it?
I just, you know, you have
Oh, that, yeah.
the edge, so that creates the sound and the vibration.
Well, thank you so much. And it's been such a pleasure catching up with you and talking to you. I encourage everyone to go check out your books. And if you can also send me the link to those articles that were just published, I think that would be very interesting to read as well. Anything, any message that you want to give the world for the future, for the coming year? I mean, we are about to have a new year.
I'm going to say what I heard from other people, which are much wiser and smarter than me. We might have some toughened times coming in the next 2 3 years, but everything will be okay at the end of that tunnel. We'll have more light around us, and we will see the world with from a different perspective, much better, and we'll return we'll be closer to Mother Earth. We have to understand nature because this is the link we are missing these days. And the indigenous family understand this link. They never disconnected from Mother Nature, but we, the Westerners and the new society, did that.
That's beautifully said. And I just want to add to that that we are a lot more powerful than we know. And if we use our energy and our light and our life essence, we can totally change all those difficult times and transform them into the most beautiful times that we have ever had. So I encourage everybody to explore your own strength, especially if you want to make this world a better place and not allow those who want to destroy us to actually succeed. And I wish everybody a magical journey, and let your talent be your potion. Thank you so much, Claudio.
Thank you, Tippy. Have a wonderful 2021.
Thank you. And before I go here, let me just show you, this is my book on Amazon. It's called Wake Up and Plan for Roses. It is about planning your life consciously, because we actually plan our life unconsciously if we don't have an active plan. So might as well make it active, might as well make it the way you like it. So if you want the book, it's Wake Up and Plan for Roses on Amazon.